Let me tell you how that morning unfolded. And if you've ever had your authority dismissed, no matter how high up you air, you'll know exactly what I mean. So picture this. Sunrise just breaking, the Aurora Galleria's glass facade lighting up like a promise of something grand. And there I am, Dr. Serena Blackwell, founder and majority stakeholder behind the Central Mall expansion, stepping out of my car in a suit so sharp it could cut through anyone's doubts. If only that were enough. The gold on my wrist didn't just say taste, it said, I built this. And still, as I walked the red carpet laid out for the so-called VIPs, something in the air made me brace for a storm. You see, everything was choreographed to scream executive privilege. Inside, beneath marble pillars and enough crystal chandeliers to blind you, the city's dignitaries and investors already clustered, trading smiles and statistics about ROI and foot traffic. I knew the numbers by heart. I had spent years making sure those numbers were even possible. The staff, perfectly pressed, hovered everywhere with tablets and clipboards. At the center of it all was Michelle Hayes, platinum blonde hair done up tight, standing guard at the reception like a queen's gatekeeper. I handed over my gold-embossed invitation, yes, the one signed by the chairman himself. For a heartbeat, Michelle's eyes flickered up in recognition, then cooled as if nothing was amiss. Good morning, Dr. Blackwell, she said, taking my invitation with fingers that hovered a little too long, punching in something on her tablet before giving me the world's most polite delay. Then came the real twist. Lucas Grant, security officer tall, straight-backed, all-professional cool stepped in, asking me to please wait aside while they processed other VIPs. You know, for protocol. That's how it's always worded. I kept my voice steady, reminded them of my meeting with the board at 10, but Lucas was unmoved, guiding me to a row of sleek chairs set up for general visitors. I'll tell you, sitting there in the project I financed, feeling like an outsider, it stung. But I kept my spine straight and my jaw set, remembering my mother's words: respect isn't demanded, it's earned every single day. As I watched, the Lennox family waltzed past in their designer outfits. Michelle suddenly all warmth and no questions asked, champagne appearing in their hands like magic. Other guests were swept through, greeted, and ushered into private lounges, while I sat, invisible, the principal investor treated like an uninvited guest at her own party. Not a single staff member so much as looked my way, and every polite nod given to someone else felt like a slap. I'd been through this dance before, rooms where my credentials were doubted, my presence questioned, all for reasons never spoken out loud. To keep my dignity, I got up, made my way to a refreshment station, selected a bottle of water, the coldness in my hand reminding me I was still in control, still myself, even as the exclusion tightened around me. Conversations about keynotes and anchor tenants drifted by, each word a reminder that I wasn't in the circle that morning. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw an intern, Emma, new to the Galleria, lean in and whisper to Michelle, her gaze flicking to me, concern written across her face. Michelle's icy stare shut Emma down, and the younger woman shrank back, pretending to busy herself with brochures. I allowed myself the smallest, knowing smile. Yeah, I'd seen this play before. I waited, and as more guests were ushered past, as time stretched, each microaggression was quietly recorded in my mind, not with anger, but with resolve. I remembered a lesson from a leadership seminar: privilege is earned, not bestowed, in how quickly those in charge would rescind at the moment you stopped fitting their image of success. I could feel their eyes flick away, footsteps quicken when I tried to make contact. When analysts walked by, notebooks in hand, Michelle swept her attention to them, promising exclusive tours. Their chatter about redefining luxury barely masked the indifference in the air. But I've always believed, and my mother drilled it in deep, never let someone else's bias steal your power. So I waited, not out of submission, but calculation. And just as my meeting time came and went, I made my way back to the refreshment station, every step echoing with intent. I caught my reflection in the mirror behind the counter, a woman unbowed, flawless, radiating an authority that went deeper than any velvet rope could block. I watched Emma again her hesitation, her glance in my direction until Michelle cut her off with a glare that said, "Don't even try." So I sat, hands folded, collecting every slight for later use. All around, the Galleria boasted its values giant digital screens, proud metrics, a celebration of diversity in advertising, while here, in the heart of it, I was invisible. And then the moment came. With the authority only the real stakeholder holds, I took out my phone, opened the secure executive app, and issued a directive. All Central Mall expansion negotiations, site approvals, vendor contracts, everything put on immediate hold, pending review of executive protocols and leadership accountability. Sent. Within seconds, the entire operation rippled with the fallout. Staff checked their devices. Michelle froze mid-conversation. Lucas straightened up, every rope and protocol suddenly meaningless in the face of a real power move. Executives scrambled. Guests murmured as announcements flashed, negotiations suspended. Even the bellman at the entrance paused, unsure whether to hold open the doors. And in that controlled chaos, Emma caught my eye, a silent understanding passing between us. A quiet maneuver, but in moments the pecking order had flipped. The very hierarchy that had excluded me was now exposed for everyone to see. Next thing, I walked to the boardroom, passed the biometric scan, and took my seat across from Chairman Prescott. When he asked if my directive was final, I told him straight. Effective immediately. No further business until we hold ourselves accountable for the values we claim to uphold. The board murmured, legal counsel scribbled notes, and Prescott moved with the kind of urgency that only comes when a company's fate is on the line. Within 5 minutes, HR and security terminated Michelle and Lucas on grounds of discrimination and insubordination. Just like that. Emma was promoted, tasked with rebuilding reception from scratch. And as Michelle and Lucas were quietly escorted out, the ropes at the entrance, once symbols of exclusion, now hung empty, silent witnesses to a regime that no longer held sway. News broke fast, headlines swirling about a black woman CEO who brought a $500 million deal to a standstill after being humiliated. Inside, staff looked around with new eyes, the lesson settling in hard. This wasn't just about profit or protocol, but about real respect. In the days that followed, Aurora Galleria announced a company-wide equity initiative, workshops on unconscious bias, and leadership seminars I would personally lead. Emma's first act, as junior service coordinator, redesigned the VIP check-in so no one could be profiled again. Michelle and Lucas's misconduct was on the record, and the message was clear. Prejudice dressed as policy had no place here. Weeks later, as I watched a South Asian family welcomed warmly at the new desk, no ropes, no hesitation, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Lease signings recovered, customer sentiment soared, and the new guest equity index proved what I'd always known. Equity isn't just moral, it's good business. Emma's innovations, feedback stations, digital welcomes, diversity training were tangible proof of change. The whole community noticed, too. Even the press followed the redemption arcs. Michelle volunteering with at-risk youth. Lucas learning the hard lessons of exclusion as he tried to rebuild his career elsewhere. Each day, I made time for roundables, listening to former critics, sharing best practices, publishing white papers so the whole industry could learn from our turnaround. And every evening, as the sun set over the new North Wing, I'd pause at the faces of Aurora mural, my portrait quietly among hundreds. That's when I knew the truth. We hadn't just rebuilt a mall. We'd built a place where dignity and courage set the tone. So, what do you think, you folks watching this? Does accountability go too far or not nearly far enough? Should every company be forced to confront its own velvet ropes? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about where real justice begins, right where exclusion used to stand.